Some condolences to someone that is experiencing loss. We also do bouquets for them as well and floral arrangements.
She says customer satisfaction and creativity remain at the heart of her business, and she hopes to expand into event decor with a physical location in the future.
The biggest risk with flowers is that they're perishable items. So in terms of really targeting the market audience, in terms of really making sure that I have enough customers to sell my flowers to, you don't want to order too much. So yeah, marketing is definitely something that I have had to put a lot of work into, because you don't want your items to die before selling. And any money gonna go to waste, you know? You can find us at Blooming Gifts, that's BLOOMING Gifts, GIFTS on all your social media platforms. So that's Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram at Blooming Gifts JA. And you can WhatsApp us at 876-460-2405.
Next week, we continue to spotlight entrepreneurs turning small ideas into big dreams. Until then, for Small Biz, Big Dreams, I'm Kevin Black.
Need to estimate your duty? Perform a track and trace? Search for a declaration?
Then download the Jamaica Customs mobile app today. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency is
for joining us for CVM News at Noon. It's a Tuesday, February 17, 2026. I'm Amoy Harriet. Up first this afternoon, the parliamentary opposition is blasting the government over its decision to continue withdrawing $11.4 billion a year from the National Housing Trust NHT to prop up the national budget for another 5 years. That move would drain nearly $57 billion from the NHT. Opposition leader Mark Golding says at a time when Jamaicans are grappling with a deepening housing crisis, those funds should be used to deliver affordable housing to contributors. Mr. Golding also pointed to a 2013 promise by then opposition leader Andrew Holness, who committed to ring-fencing NHT funds and amending the law to ensure they would not be used for any other purpose. The opposition says this recent decision is a breach of that commitment.
Doesn't Jamaica have a critical problem with affordable housing? Aren't Jamaican people, especially young people, struggling to find a way of acquiring their own home? The NHT is the vehicle that should be doing that. But when you keep taking the money out of it in such large amounts, you can't fulfill that mandate. And it's not fulfilling that mandate. What about the 40,000 people who lost their homes in Melissa? The NHT should be playing a much bigger role in getting them back on their feet in new housing. And the 90,000 additional people who had severe damage to their roofs and so on. Why are you depleting NHT of resources as an agency set up for dealing with situations to do with housing?
Meanwhile, there is concern among financial institutions about the government's decision to keep the asset tax in place as part of post-hurricane recovery measures. Head of Investments at Novamed, Julian Morrison, says the tax could affect banks and their customers.
Financial institutions have to pay the same taxes that non-financial institutions have to pay, regular corporate income tax. But on top of that, they have to pay an asset tax, which means that it's a taxation that is on top of what would normally be there. So it's based on assets and not profits. So if you have a bad financial year in terms of your P&L, your profit and loss, you still have to pay that asset tax. And that's a part of the challenge. The asset tax is a balancing act. On one hand, it has restraints on the private sector, but on the other hand, we have to ensure that the budget can support the recovery that Jamaica needs.
Now, residents in Negril, Westmoreland are voicing frustration over reduced access to ATM services following changes by the National Commercial Bank NCB to its automated banking locations. Businessman Cliff Reynolds says the relocation is making it harder for customers to access basic banking services.
I've complained just over 2 years now about the inadequate amount of machines that they have in Negril. We're at a stage where they used to have 5 machines, now we're down to 3 machines, which is at the branch. And in most cases, 1.5 or 2 is working. I say 1.5 because sometimes 1 can only do deposit. This is a final call to the management of NCB to start treating us, the customers, better. It would have looked, seems to me, as if they care not anymore about the residents in Negril.
To other news now, a retired taxi operator has been hospitalized in serious condition following a motor vehicle collision in Hopewell, Hanover on Monday. Reports indicate that about 2 o'clock, the man, said to be in his late 60s, was exiting the Hopewell Mall in a Toyota station wagon when he reportedly drove across the path of a truck. The driver of the station wagon sustained broken limbs and head injuries and was taken to hospital where he was treated and admitted in serious condition. Now, the truck driver was also treated for injuries. Police say investigations are ongoing. The family of Kaylin Dowdy, the 22-year-old who was beaten by 5 women in November 2020, is criticizing the University Hospital of the West Indies for the time it's taking to produce her medical record. The family wants to do a procedure in the United States, but says the hospital has not provided her files for nearly 3 years. Giovanni Dennis reports.
So, hi Kaylin, firstly, how are you doing? You're fine?
It's been 6 years since Kaylin Dowdy's story gripped the island. The then 17-year-old teen was beaten by 5 women who left her for dead at a party in Barbican, St. Andrew. Doctors had given her a 1% chance of survival after she was in a coma. Fast forward to today, she is still on the road to recovery. She uses a wheelchair.
What has that journey been like for you firstly? Hard? What has been the most difficult part of it? Hospital? Difficult?
You don't hear her voice because she uses a trach to help her breathe. She has been a patient at the University Hospital of the West Indies since 2020, initially admitted and now an outpatient. Her mother, Venetia Buckley, is now trying to get that trach removed, a surgery that can only be done overseas. But there's an issue. The family needs a medical report before she can be seen by surgeons in the United States. They say they have been trying for almost 3 years to get Kaylin's report from the hospital.
I paid for a medical report. I went even before I left Jamaica. I was at UWI. Even the day before I went on the plane, I was at UWI trying to get the medical report. Still have not gotten it. To date, we have gone up there countless amount of times. Kaylin has gone herself with her nurse. Her father has gone. I've sent other people to try and get it, and we have not been able to get this report.
Ms. Buckley says they were told that no one wants to write it. The family tried again in 2025. This receipt shows it was paid for on October 21. Kaylin and her nursing assistant visited the hospital on the 3rd of February 2026, again requesting the files.
When we went to the department to ask for it, they're saying that there is no record of anything. So she's supposed to have CT scans, MRIs, X-rays, none of that. They're saying they're seeing no images, any at all. I can remember distinctly the lady saying to me, they have deleted them to make space.
This was when the family reached out to CVM News. We immediately sent an email to the University Hospital's acting CEO, Eric Hosin, on whether Kaylin's medical records were deleted. Mr. Hosin said he would follow up, and so before airing, we waited nearly 2 weeks for a response. But the family is growing increasingly concerned.
What am I supposed to give to the other doctors to work with? They want to know before they accept her into their facility what they are working with. People don't understand. A tracheostomy tube is also a source of infection. Because if that tube is not cleaned properly, she can get an infection that can lead to sepsis. Kaylin has already fought sepsis 7 times. We do not plan on doing it 8. She does not need this tube. We need to get it out, and they are blocking us from getting this thing done.
Without this record, the surgery that they're looking forward to remove the trach for her to get back her voice won't be done. So it's extremely important.
Extremely important because Kaylin has not heard her own voice since 2020, nearly 6 years ago. Since our news team made inquiries, we were told by a senior hospital figure that Kaylin's files were located and is being put together, but because she's a unique case, in that she has been with the hospital for an extended period, the file is large and takes time to put together. But the family, which has been seeking this file since 2023 without success, still wants answers. Giovanni Dennis, CVM News.
Meanwhile, the university hospital is denying the claim that Kaylin Doughty's medical files were deleted. The hospital's legal officer, Kimani Brightson, confirmed that the report is now being compiled.
Any suggestion that the records of this particular patient were destroyed is false and highly inaccurate. The members of staff at the UHWI have been committed to the well-being of this patient since the very first moment she was admitted. Now, due to the nature of the injuries to this patient, she was admitted for over a year, and during that time she would have undergone several operations and received treatment across multiple departments. While I'm not at liberty to discuss the details of her treatment, I can confirm that the report that is being prepared is for a specific purpose, and therefore that report must encapsulate the full extent of the treatment that this patient received from the very point of her admission. The persons who are acting on behalf of this patient were duly informed that the reports, when requested, are generally ready within 3 months. And this period is dependent on several factors, one of which is obviously the amount of material that has to be assessed in order for the report to be prepared.
To other news now, Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness has hailed American civil rights icon and 2-time presidential candidate, the Reverend Jesse Jackson. Reverend Jackson, one of the most consequential civil rights leaders of the 20th and 21st centuries, died on Tuesday. He was 84. Dr. Holness also says Reverend Jackson is among a unique cadre of civil rights leaders, including the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who were admirable for their ability to put aside self-interest and at significant personal risk, not only in the U.S., but across the globe. And it's time now for a break, but stay with us for a live interview when we come back.
Let's delve deep into the issues. We'll take you beneath the surface.
Greetings and salutations. My name is Orville Higgins and it's another edition of Fan Central.
Talking to the people at the heart of the top sporting stories. Hear from your favorite sportsmen and women and the administrators who work tirelessly to make it all happen. It's live sports talk.
I've written an entire article.
Yes.
Looking at all the major issues every Tuesday at 9 p.m. It's Fan Central.
Tune in to Lead Story, weekdays at 6 p.m. Hosted by Jody Ann Quarry.
brought to you by Horizon, a new loan product from Access Financial Services.
Welcome back to CVM News at Noon. The Finance Minister announced last Thursday that public sector workers will have to start paying GCT on motor vehicles imported with their 20% duty concessions. Public sector unions are not pleased. Joining us to discuss this is former president of the Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions and a general secretary of the Jamaica Association of Local Government Officers, JALGO's, Helene Davis-White. Good afternoon, Mrs. Davis-White.
Good afternoon.
Did the unions know that this announcement was coming?
No, it took us completely by surprise. And especially because the issue of duty concession itself had arisen while the compensation review was being conducted. At that point, there were attempts to remove the duty concession, and we had meetings with then Minister of Finance, and he indicated at that point that the government was not intending at that time to remove the duty concession. So we expected, therefore, that if there was going to be any change to the arrangement, that we certainly would have been made aware before. Speaking from the point of view of the staff, I mean, some of them may feel that it is not a full removal of the duty concession. And so, you know, what they're going to be asked to pay now is GCT. So they will still have the concession, but they're going to be asked to pay what they never used to pay before. And so something like this, we figure.
How does this now affect the agreements between the government and public sector workers?
Should have been raised with us before an announcement.
Sorry, your audio went out just now, Mrs. Davis-White. How does this now affect the agreement between the government and public sector workers?
Well,
all right, it appears we're having some technical challenges there with Mrs. Davis-White.
What we can say is that particularly, I would say almost to the point of, and I think, I know the issue of duty concession had been raised in a letter that was sent to Minister Williams.
All right, Mrs.
I think it may have been last week. I think to address is the fact that you're not hearing.
Your audio is in and out, Mrs. Davis-White. Could you repeat that point? You said there was a letter that was sent to Minister Williams recently. What did that letter entail? All right, it appears we may have lost Mrs. Davis-White there speaking on the matter of the 20% duty concessions now for public sector workers. We will attempt to get back in touch with Mrs. Davis-White momentarily. We go now to news overseas, where more than 72,000 Palestinians have been killed and over 171,000 wounded in Israel's war on Gaza, including thousands who have lost limbs. Despite severe war injuries, many Palestinians are refusing to give up and continue working to support their families. Al Jazeera has the details.
This bakery was rebuilt from scrap materials after the family's original business was destroyed during Israel's war on Gaza. All the members of the Qahaman family have been injured during the war. Muhammad Qahaman lost his right hand. His son Ala, the main breadwinner for a family of 8, lost his left leg to artillery shelling. Another family member, Khalil, also lost a hand. The bakery the family owned before the war was destroyed in Israeli attacks. They estimate the losses at about $250,000.
We decided to reopen this bakery despite losing our limbs, so we would not depend on anyone for help. Tasks that once required one person are now shared between 2 of us to get the job done. I use a bicycle and ride it with one hand to deliver bread to our customers.
The whole Qahaman family has been forced to adapt. Each member takes on tasks based on what they are physically able to do.
I was injured 7 months ago. 3 months after my injury, I returned to work. What forced me to do so was the lack of basic necessities. In Gaza today, I have no choice but to work to provide for my family. I have children, and their needs must be met.
All right, we return now to that conversation we were having with Mrs. Helene Davis-White, who is the president of or former president rather, of the Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions and general secretary of the Jamaica Association of Local Government Officers, JAGO. Mrs. Davis-White, are you here with us?
Yes, I'm hearing you now.
So we were talking about the 20% duty concession that the minister announced. How significant, though, is this change for the public sector workers, given that they'll now have to pay GCT?
Well, what that certainly means is that they